I want to tell you something that probably your audience does not know. The Press Coalition and the defense, the three men who are charged with attacking Officer Fanone, have asked for his full body camera footage. A judge has denied that, saying that they are not entitled to see the full camera footage of Officer Fanone. Why not? If we are told these people are domestic terrorists, that this was an act of domestic terrorism similar to 9/11, we need to see all the footage from everyone, especially publicly paid employees and publicly paid surveillance system of what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, there's
Why
no
are they
reason not
keeping
to make that available. In the same way we want to see the whole body camera footage in a case like Floyd or any of these officer involved shootings, we want to see it here. And it's for the benefit of the officer and for those being accused. What's the stated reason for us not being able to see his body cam footage?
They are calling this all protected material. In the case of the 14,000 hours, they're calling it highly sensitive government material. In the case of Officer
What?
Fanone's body worn camera, here's what they're doing in court, Megan. They're taking still shots of from the body camera footage, still shots, and putting it in in these motions for pretrial detention. So what the government and what the judges are agreeing with is that because the video was not itself wasn't used in these court proceedings, that the press is not entitled to see it. That's how they're getting around this. In the
Mm,
meantime, we can see 20 seconds of what happened to Officer Fanone. We don't see what led up to that. He himself admitted he was not supposed to be there. He's a narcotics officer. He put on the uniform for the first time in 10 years, including body camera. We should see the entire body of video footage, all the digital evidence that the government has on this. And it should raise many red flags that the government and federal judges continue to withhold this, not just from the public, from the press, and even from defense attorneys.
So let's talk about Fanone because you sent out a tweet about him. This is the guy we played a budded soundbite with Andy, and he is the man who said he suffered a heart attack in the midst of this whole thing, among other injuries. And you tweeted out, crisis actor Fanone just beat on the table and said it's disgraceful that any elected official denies his narrative of what happened on January 6th, calls it an insurrection, blasting GOP lawmakers. Now says this isn't about politics. LOL. He has many tattoos, and there was blowback, considerable blowback on you for calling this guy a crisis actor, and questioning his testimonial. So why did you call him that?
I called him that because I thought the overheated, emotional, highly partisan, and dangerous rhetoric coming out of these officers, already helping to taint a very partisan jury pool in Washington, D.C. I thought it totally crossed the line. None of them gave just an unemotional, factual account of what they saw or what they experienced on January 6th. Michael Fanone has been in the media since January 14th when he was profiled in the
Hmm.
Washington Post. He is repeatedly going on CNN. He's walking the halls of Congress demanding that people like House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy meet with him. For what purpose? You have three men who have been charged with assaulting him, three men who have been behind bars since they were arrested for attacking Michael Fanone, three men who are going to either plead guilty or have a jury trial where hopefully we will see all of the evidence what happened. But why is he banging on a table? Why were all of them making such disparaging remarks about Republican lawmakers, calling Trump
Hmm.
supporters terrorists and traitors? All of it totally crossed the line. I don't think that crisis actor for someone who then went on the Don Lemon show that night
Yep.
had this hugging fest saying, I love you, man. Your family's been great. You're the best. He was on CNN the next morning. I mean, come on. This is not, a way to get to the truth or tell the American people your story. There's another agenda at play. And I certainly did not think calling him a crisis actor would cross the line.
No, fair enough. I think that this is one of the problems in not having any Republicans I mean, forgive me, but sort of real Republicans,
Right.
there to press the witnesses a bit, with all due respect to the police officers in particular, whose service I admire. Um, it would have been nice to have somebody there to say, Officer Fanone, with all due respect to the injuries you've suffered, may I ask you why you appeared on CNN, 4 dozen times
Right.
between then and now, with Don Lemon, with Chris Cuomo, right? That you've gone to sort of left-leaning media to attack Republicans writ large, to attack Republican
Right.
lawmakers. And the other police officer, whose name escapes me right now, but he's been very partisan in his tweets, very anti-Trump,
Officer
anti-Trump
Dunn.
supporters. Yeah, what is it, Don? Oh,
Officer
Dunn,
Dunn.
yes. So
Yes.
it's not to say that they're not telling the truth. I don't know. I wasn't there. I haven't seen the evidence, but I do think this is why you normally have both sides represented, so that even if gently, like we saw during Kavanaugh, there's somebody there to press the witness on possible other motives, political motives, because this case is totally charged with politics on both sides. And we're not seeing that because Adam Kinzinger isn't going to do it, and neither is Liz
Right.
Cheney. So it really is sort of a kangaroo court that's designed to reach a political indictment against Trump and his supporters, and they'll get that. That's how it will end. And he's awful, and his supporters are awful, and the people who
Right.
protested that day are awful, without much nuance on what individuals may or may not have done.
Well, and I do think, Officer Dunn said, held a moment of silence for Brian Sicknick for being killed in the line of duty. Again, not true. You had Officer Hodges repeatedly refer to American citizens as terrorists. You had Officer Gunnell say that Republican lawmakers who had been at the Justice Department that day demanding answers about this unequal treatment between January 6th protesters and protesters last year. You had this man say they don't belong in elective office. Who are these people to make such outlandish partisan statements? These are not legit people acting as law enforcement officers. They are partisan props. And that is
Mhm.
exactly why Nancy Pelosi did not want Jim Jordan and Jim Banks on that committee. Andy McCarthy wrote this week that he didn't understand why she would leave them off because he thought that the testimony from these officers was unimpeachable. But if it was, then there's a reason why Pelosi wanted Jim Jordan and Jim Banks not to be on that committee because
Yeah,
they
I
would have
think
asked some of the tough questions.
that's right. I do think you have to be sensitive with a witness like that, right? It's a cop. These guys, these are not rich guys. These are public servants. They've been hurt. We can see it on camera, so you have empathy for them and what they've been through. I certainly do, but that doesn't mean you don't ask the questions. It doesn't mean you don't probe. Again, back to
Right.
the Blasey Ford example, same thing. And it wasn't done. And I do think that undermines the legitimacy of the whole thing. And also, if you really want to be taken seriously, if you don't want to be seen as a partisan, then you don't go on CNN nonstop. You don't deal with partisan media. You don't make big
Right.
statements about the Republican Party, because that all gives people a reason to dismiss your testimonial and see you through a partisan lens.